Divine rising, blessed be to your day. Some of y'all need a good morning. Some of y'all need a good morning. Some of you are in that grand rising feature. Some of y'all are in that blessed be to your day, gracious to your day. Wake up with that gratitude. If you're not waking up in gratitude, I'm telling you good morning, because it's time for you to get yourself right. Get yourself together. Today is the only day that matters. Today is the only day that matters. You are the only one that matters. Why? Because everything outside of you is a limited light projection of your entire self. And that made me think about, in this week's podcast, we got into the doors, those emotional traps, the emotional traps that we set as I'm getting everything together. The emotional traps, the rescue me mentality, and the storehouse, or that silo of all of your old guilts and all those memories that you keep holding into yourself. It's time for you to address these aspects as you're stepping into your day. That conversation that you're having with yourself, go check out my story. Go check out my story. Because I said every time that you're thinking, you're actually listening. So it made me really think about the betrayal narrative. It made me think about the betrayal narrative. And the ultimate betrayal is when you put your healing second. The ultimate betrayal is when you put that love that you need to be putting to yourself second. You make yourself secondary. You make yourself the auxiliary. So then I thought about to myself, a lot of the times for me, in going into my work and then dealing with my clients now, and going back into myself, I used to think everybody was trying to stop me. I used to think everybody was messing up with my growth and my progress. I used to think everybody was against me. I used to allow others to speak ill thoughts and project their blind expectations of me onto me, just to be able to say I came from under something. A lot of times we keep ourselves in a certain position of thought. That means we listening to ourselves, having that conversation with ourselves, that negative self-talk. We don't define negative self-talk as we getting into this. I put myself in a position to say always say I was coming from under something. I stood against the wall. I came from under the odds. But then I started to think with myself, I'm only compartmentalizing my life. I'm only using a state of polarization. So when you think about it to yourself, when you're in that space, a lot of us confuse our boundaries that we are setting with compartmentalization. Compartmentalization is the process of you're moving in and out of spaces and using your energy in a compartmentalized fashion. That means the polarization of to see clarity in each space. So use for an example, the way that I used to think about my family in that aspect. Until I dealt with these things, dealing with my family, that compartmentalization was a doorway. So if I create this compartment and I create this doorway, it needs a door. It needs a door that I need to address. How do I address this door? The way that I addressed that door was the emotional blockages were the framework to that door. The repressed memories were the framework to that door. The trauma events that happened in my life, they were a part of that door. So I created this entire door based off the emotional blockages, the traumas, and the events based in my childhood. So that's how I created that one door. So now, how do I avoid dealing with that? Instead of me dealing with this door and closing that door and sealing that door away, because something my grandmother always used to say to me, she was like, baby, and I talked about this in the podcast, she was like, baby, God gonna remove the door. He's gonna move that door. He's gonna speak that door away. I never understood what it meant. And then as I started getting deep into my healing work, I was like, oh, as I address this door, as I acknowledge these emotional blockages, as I acknowledge these doors that I keep getting myself stuck, that I keep not wanting, that I don't want to knock on and get behind. they're going to start removing them. I have to start removing them. So then you think about, if I'm avoiding this door of my family aspects, the things in our family, in the inner child work, then my adolescence, in the adolescent state of myself, that means I'm in the emotional channels. In the emotional channels, everything that I'm going to create is going to be based on a trauma bond. Everything that I'm going to be in creation is going to be on attachment or a trauma bond. So I'm not since now I got this new door. Now I got the new door. That's that rescue me door. That's that savior door. That's that savior complex that I put myself into. So now I have this door standing up, this new compartment, new door. That means friendships, betrayals in friendships, betrayals in relationships. That's that new door. Or you might split your friend door, and then you might split it over, and now you got the relationship door. The relationship, not only in friendships, but the love interest, the ones that rejected, the baby father, the baby mother, they're all behind that door. But guess what? It don't matter how many compartments you create. It don't matter how much polarization that you create, trying to keep everything within balance, because this is what we ultimately do when we are compartmentalizing our thoughts. We are not setting a boundary. So my energy can always be drained all through this same point, because I don't understand how these points even link together. I thought I was setting boundaries. I thought I was doing right by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm over here. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm over here. Saturday and Sunday, I spend a little time over here. But at the end of the week, at the end of your day, you can have your entire day filled. I remember having my entire day filled with things that I needed to do, with things that I thought I needed to do or wanted to do. But at the end of the day, I always had this longing for something that I missed in the day. I always had this longing that I missed something inside of my day. I didn't get this done, or I didn't get this done. I wanted to get this done, but because I was around my family, I ended up at this place extra long. Or because I was around my friends, I did this extra long, so I never got to what I needed to get to. So then at the end of my day, I found myself trying to grab control. Similar to think about I was like the same equivalent to a little kid fighting sleep. That's how I treated the end of my day. Like a child fighting sleep. That's how I treated the end of my day. I wanted to try to do everything in that moment of the day. If I didn't have a chance to eat, I was guaranteed I was eating at the end of the night. If I didn't get a chance to watch TV, if I didn't get a chance to read, if I didn't get a chance to watch something that I wanted to watch all day, okay, cool, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to eat this food. And then I was building the end of my day, filling myself. At the end of my day, I'm betraying myself. This is self-sabotage. This is one of the pathways of your self-sabotage through compartmentalizing your day. You sabotage your whole day. You set yourself up in the whole day of self-sabotage. That betrayal that you keep giving to yourself, that's your self-sabotage. Every time that you say, I'm going to go left, and then you say you're going to go left, but then you end up going right in that space, that's you setting up your behavior. You setting up the habit. Every time that you sit there and you say, okay, cool, I'm going to wake up in the morning and start doing me a workout, and you don't do the workout, you're dishonoring your thought. That's your self-sabotage. Because now that you have opened up this space, and this is one of the biggest key factors, now that you've opened up this space with yourself of you said you were going to do it, but you didn't do it, that space is going to be in reflection of simply another compartment of guilt, another compartment or an extension to one of your older compartments of guilt, doubt, grief, procrastination, and more of your wounds. Every time that you sit here and you want to compartmentalize your life, trying to keep everybody at bay, trying to keep everything at balance, you're doing more harm than good to yourself. Because you're going to sit there every single day And then eventually you're going to look for the escape. Eventually you're going to look for the escape. But I put it like this. Your savings, that savings account. Remember, we get into the emotional accounts. We get into our spiritual stamina with ourselves. My savings account in natural is always supposed to be more than my checking. My checking account, my emotional account of what I put out. It's always supposed to be more. It's always supposed to be that more aspect in that space. But if I'm compartmentalizing my life, that means I have multiple accounts that I got to deal with. I have multiple accounts that I got to deal with. I have big things that I want to deal with. I have big things in my life. Oh, I'm going to deal with this, this, and this. If you can't deal with the minimum, why would you step into the maximum? If you can't deal with the minimum aspect in your life, learning how to minimize these aspects in your life, learning how to shrink these doors and deal with these doors, it's going to be the direct reflection of why you feel overwhelmed. Every time that something good happens, you feel a sense of overwhelmed. Every time something is challenging, you feel that sense of overwhelmed. All of it leads back to the compartmentalization of your life. You're not used to the big things. So I'm going to put this over here. So now you got all these multiple compartments. So now you multitasking. So now you're giving a little bit over here. I used to give a little bit over here, give a little bit over here, give a little bit over there, a little bit over there. And then since I'm giving a little bit to everybody else, I'm giving even little less to myself. When we give everything to everything else in this compartmentalized thought, we can't set the boundaries to set ourselves first. Because now when you're going to start doing your healing, you coming into your healing, now you're going to start feeling I'm betraying somebody. If I say no, I'm betraying people because they never said no to me. They never said no to you, maybe because they knew how you were. They knew how you were. You feel guilt because you didn't answer that phone call. That's a form of self-care. You ain't got to answer that phone call. The conversation you have with yourself is going to help you champion and triumph that phone call that you didn't answer. That text message that you didn't answer. It's that conversation that you're having with yourself. This is what stops us from self-sabotage. Or that's the beginning aspects of stopping that self-sabotage narrative. It's time to stop betraying yourself. It's time to stop putting yourself in a position to where you feel that you're overwhelmed and you feel the need to try to grab at the end of the day and try to fill yourself. The whole point of you going through your day is to empty yourself. The whole beginning part of your day is how you program what you're about to learn inside that day. What are you learning today? What are you learning right now? How is what you are learning? Here's a couple of examples. Here's a couple of pieces. Is what you're learning or what you're taking on right now at this moment, is it going to matter in 10 years? Is it going to matter in 5 years? And since you have that thought in your mind, whatever it is, once you put that thought in your mind, everything that's going to be around you is going to give you the examples of what it looks like in 5 years and in 10 years. I know I did it to myself. Just the first thing that I did, one of the first times that I did it was actually working out. I always equate to working out because getting my emotional and my spiritual stamina up. So I was like, my workouts now, how are they going to affect or what are they going to look like in 5 years? If I don't do this workout, what am I going to look like in 5 years? And sure enough, it came. One time I was like, damn, I'm about to go on my walk, and I went to the store and I looked at somebody that was wearing some sweatpants. I saw this brother wearing some sweatpants and he was breathing all heavy, walking through the store, had a cart full of like all types of junk. And that was my example of damn. Instead of me using judgment like, damn, that nigga fat, I saw myself. I was like, if I don't do my workout, that's an example of what I'm gonna look like in 5 years. Why? Because I can go back into my memories or into my past to where I was not exactly that size, but I was on that path. Everything that you're doing right now, you're breaking down these compartments. Break down these fucking barriers that you keep putting up for yourself. You got friends over here, you got family over here, but none of them link up. But they link up, you're the common point. It's time to find the intercepting point so you stop wasting your energy. It's time to find the interception point, which is you. How do you connect to each one of these aspects? If you were not who you were, and this is when you're assessing yourself. Remember, we're assessing our growth. We're assessing our goals. If I'm not who I was anymore, then what role do they play? That's how you destroy that doorway. That's how you get into that emotional blockage. But you got to start. That's going to be your key. I want you to be gentle with yourself. I want you to be gentle in becoming open, but I want you to be fierce in being vulnerable and truthful to yourself. I want you to be gentle in being open, but I want you to be fierce in the vulnerability and being truthful to yourself. That's going to help your growth. I want you to be gentle in your opening and allowing yourself to open, but I want you to be fierce in the vulnerability that is going to take for you to be honest with yourself. Stop putting up them compartments. Stop putting up those corrals. You can go stop putting up these compartments. Stop putting yourself in these compartments, because all you're doing is minimizing yourself. All you're doing is, in this space, I'm this, and in this space, I'm this. You ever notice? I'm gonna give you another key. You ever notice when you're having a conversation with certain individuals, you ever notice that when you step out of that space, have you ever took a moment to listen to yourself? Really listen to yourself? The next time you go into a space, friend, family, whatever it may be, and you have a conversation in that space, when you come out of that space, I want you to take about 5-10 minutes sitting in the car. If you walk into the house, whenever it is, take 5 minutes to yourself, and I want you to voice record yourself. This is one of the things that I give my clients. I want you to voice record yourself. I want you just to have a conversation with yourself. I want you to listen to how you sound. Now, after you do that recording, I want you to listen to the conversation. I can guarantee you, I used to remember that when I had conversations at my mother's house, and the way that I sounded, I still sounded broken. I sounded like the hurt. I sounded like the unresolved issues in that space. So now I started monitoring myself, and when I was in certain spaces, I noticed my conversation was different. I noticed the octaves in my voice was different. So since I noticed the octaves in my voice was different, I started listening to what I was saying. A lot of times, you're automatically put out there into the space to automatically shut you off from moving forward. I remember I used to tell people, like, I know you ain't into this health thing and all, but instead of me stating my point, it was automatically triggering me to regurgitate. I know you ain't into that health. I know you ain't into money. I know you ain't into business. I know you aren't into. Think about that conversation, because that's the same conversation you have with yourself every time that you come into a certain point when you challenging yourself. I know you're not into. I know you're not into. I know you're not into becoming intimate with yourself. That's how you shut down the intimacy with yourself. Intimacy, into me I see. The intimacy with yourself. The understanding of yourself. I know you're not into. Let's think about it. That's how it corresponds. That's your trick. That's going to be your lesson. I want you to be the fucking best. I want you to stop. I want you to, today, from this point, I want you to assess the compartmentalization of your life. What compartments have you created in your life? What doorways have you created into your life? Let it resonate with you. Tune in and tap out to the God Hour podcast. This week's episode, we got even deeper into this. But I want you to be the best. I desire you to break all limitations. I desire you to stop allowing yourself to be limited. I desire you to stop with the process of I'm this person and I've been this way for all my life. I want you to stop it. I want you to release yourself from that. But the only way to do that, it's time to open up. It's time to start healing. You need that help. You need that aid. I'm gonna be that vessel for you. GodicalAlchemistLLC.com, or you can look at the description of this video and you can look at the list of the readings, the consultation, set up that consultation, hit me in the inbox, hit me in the DM, and let's get that shit started today. I want you to be the best. Today is the only day that matters. Remember, today is the only day that matters. You are the only one that matters. Everything outside of you is a projection for you to go through the experience to learn or the observation to master. I love you. We love us. Ashe.